My name is Deb McGregor. I'm the Regional Director for the GFDA Small Business Development Center. We want to welcome you to this another amazing webinar, a part of our partnership with MSU. Also with me co-hosting is Rich Gannon. Rich is a business advisor, also with GFDA Small Business Development Center. And I want to get right into introducing our special guest, Arnold, because he has so much great information to share. We have with us Arnold Volker, who will be talking about Think Like an Inventor. I'm going to read you some of his bio, which is amazing. Arnold is a lifelong inventor, manufacturing entrepreneur who has fostered innovation for others for over 3 decades. He is the owner of Next Innovations, which is in Walker, Minnesota. He has transformed the American manufacturing company from generic consumer decor to an industry leader in metal art and specialty coating. Under his leadership, Next Innovation serves clients from local businesses to the Walt Disney Company. The company originally sat alone on a 54-acre plot, but his passion for collaboration and innovation has inspired other companies to settle down nearby. Arnold transformed the space into a multi-revenue property with other manufacturers, co-working spaces, and even a U-Haul dealership. The space has transformed into a collaborative environment for entrepreneurs to share ideas and innovate their industries. I could say like so much about Arnold because he's so amazing, but I do want to mention a couple more things. His grandfather invented the first potato planter in 1917. He carried on the legacy by nurturing creativity in his own children. His son had an invention at age 11, and it made national news, and it revolutionized their family business. Arnold started Inventor U because he wants to be able to mentor other businesses and really help foster their business development and creative problem solving. And his work has even earned recognition, including a manufacturer's commendation from the governor of Minnesota. I also want to mention he is one of the authors in Mission Matters, which was put out by Adam Torres. And this is a man who makes an impact in the world. So Arnold, let's turn it right over to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Deb. Thanks, Rich, for having me on here. Humbling, just listening to, you know, stuff that I've done, but I think the whole background or premise of this is like Deb said, my grandfather was an inventor, and so I'm very passionate about just honoring that DNA and kind of pass that on to my kids and have some interesting stories related to that. So we'll jump right into it. As you can kind of see the brain there on the right, I mean, there's lots of gears turning. I think if you're a creative person, that's something I think it's good to always kind of keep that brain going in a positive direction. Deb kind of did a pretty good job talking about just things that I've done, you know, some trademarks and patents. Here's a picture of my grandfather, 1917, and it's just something that is kind of in the forefront of just my thoughts and things, you know, honoring things that he's done. And there's the actual patent there. So I have that background to somewhat fall into. But quick story on that, he invented one of the first potato planters. It never really went anywhere because somebody added some ropes and things to it, and that's what took off in the market. So, you know, the one of the pieces of that story is, you know, we can create some great things, and I think you don't focus on necessarily always the outcome, but you know, it was a great experience for him, and he never once, he died at 101, he never once looked at it as a negative thing. So even though somebody modified his idea, it still was his lifelong passion to always be creating, and that's somebody that I inspired to try to be like. What makes an inventor different? So I think when you think of an inventor, and if you start looking at yourself like I'm an inventor, I mean, you know, you're confident, tireless, driven. A lot of times they're loners, not admitting anything there, but not afraid to fail. You know, if you think of the sticky note, or we all know of different things that, you know, were created out of a failure. They believe in themselves. They just really believe and passionate about that outcome. They're always asking themselves questions. I think the questions that we ask ourselves is I'd consider myself probably equally as much a problem solver. So it's part of inventing is solving that problem. Um, how can you access these mindsets and apply them to your life? This is some things that we're going to cover. Um, find the reason. Just kind of 5 simple steps. Find the reason, find the time, let the passion find you. I mean, if for me, I'm creative, so I can just start chasing ideas and have a bunch of ideas going at once. Let the creation evolve, and then really have allies to support you. I mean, if I look at the people, they say that you're a product of your 5 closest friends, on the business side of things. I think that also applies. So it's really about, finding people that are positive and helping you support that invention or that idea, or even simply that change in your life. For me, inspiration is just little things. Here's a mug that I got on my desk, and I'm really passionate about kids. And if you have the opportunity to read that chapter that I wrote, we'll touch a little bit on some of these. But Frank Epperson, at age 11, he invented the popsicle. I mean, when you think of kids, you really think of somebody that they'll come up with ideas and they don't really have all the reasons why something won't work as we do as an adult. So I think a lot of times as an inventor, if you can think more like a kid, you're not discounting something before you even get started. Chester Greenwood, at age 15, he invented the earmuffs. Lewis Greenwood, and Louis Braille invented Braille at the age of 15. That's probably a famous one we've all heard of. And then George Neeson invented the trampoline. But so just, some simple things around you that remind you that, little things can make a big difference. So finding the reason, I think for us, we're always looking for new products, new ideas. Like Deb mentioned, we turned our 60,000 square foot property into a multi-tenant building. We're a U-Haul dealer. We're into self-storage. One winter, it's like I'm trying to figure out how to pay bills. We're in a downturn of the economy. This was probably 7, 8 years ago, and you know, I kept driving past a gravel pit, and so that idea came from. It's like after probably 4 months of driving by a gravel pit, it's like, well, I wonder if I have gravel. So I mean, sometimes the ideas can come from various places. And so now you look out one of my windows, I have a storage development, and the other window I have a gravel pit. So kind of find the reason. And that simple example is like, well, we need more revenue. So the reason might be many different things, and it might just be a personal thing of how do you change at least a portion of your life. Here's Chester Greenwood, at a young age, his ears were cold, and he came in, and the reason was he had cold ears. So a lot of times things don't have to be complicated. And we've all probably worn earmuffs of different type. And if you look at that simple invention, way back then, back in 1877, it's led to, audible or like devices for shooting, sports, and all kinds of things that it's adapted into. Like I said, he just basically started with cold ears. He asked his grandma for, some fur and flannel, and she helped him. So a lot of times, especially with children or kids, it's their family members or somebody that is close to them that they have access to. And I think if you think of that in our own applications, we all have somebody that's very supportive. Like Deb, I've known for a long time. Deb's always been a great person to bounce things off of, and very creative and supportive. So finding those people in your life. But if you look at this simple story, he had cold ears, and it led to, he had over 100 patents. He kept his town employed for 60 plus years. And their key factory production, they made over 400,000 pairs of earmuffs in 1936. So I just think, there's a lot of little stories like this that get lost, but they can also inspire us. A lot of times people say, well, I don't have the time, for this or that. And for me personally, I think we all have 24 hours in a day, and we all put our pants on the same way. I mean, there's nothing magical about that. It's just once you find that reason, you're going to find the time, and it doesn't have to be a huge commitment. It could just be 15 minutes a day that I'm going to set aside for this. But once you start recognizing that you have that level of creativity and interest, you will find the time. I truly believe that. I mean, there's just so many examples. Um, just realize that it's really we all have chaos in our life. I mean, there's always distractions going on. We're watching the news, we're spending too much time on the internet. I mean, if you make some simple changes, you can find the time. And then the old saying, I think we have Deb and I have a friend that says this every once in a while, fake it until you make it. I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, a quick story, just on the wind spinner behind me, if you can see that back there. That's how our company was founded, was a wind spinner. And back in 2006, we were selling $1,800 a minute on QVC in Germany. The economy crashed. So I think as businesses and as people, we're always having to adapt to what's happening. And so let that passion find you, So I've always talked about prototypes and things like that as examples. So like we took a original wind spinner, we had a decline in sales. And like Deb mentioned earlier, and I'll show a picture, my son wanted a go-kart, quick story. And it's like, well, if you want a go-kart, you better figure out how to pay for it. And he brought home just a simple piece of scrap. We had 10,000 of these pieces of scrap, and he came up with a shooting target, which basically was a modified wind spinner. And that for a number of years, we signed a 10-year contract with a large national distributor as an outcome of that. And my son was 11 at the time. So you never know where these ideas and passion can come from. And again, that was a need. He wanted a go-kart. And so that's how I've raised my kids, is just not just always necessarily giving them things, but being that supportive person around them. Here's a phrase that I like, out of the ashes. Steve Jobs, he was fired from his own company. He didn't just sit back and fall into this poor me. He ended up coming back to his own company, and then we're all familiar with the Apple story. But so I think, finding that passion, finding the time, those are all things that we all have challenges with, but they're you just have to dig for them. In the last 10 years, I can be honest, for me as a business owner and just inventor and a dad, it's been challenging. My business partner passed away. I went through a divorce. Just how do we take daily actions to, support this creativity or these new ideas that we have? And from that, you'll create new habits and a new focus. We all kind of go through what I call the crickets phase. And it's like you might be doing something, and what that means is you're doing the right things, but nothing's happening. You might be making sales calls, or you might be making phone calls, nobody's answering the phone. I mean, there's lots of examples, but basically you need to just continue doing what you're doing, execute the plan. So if you're developing something as simple as a modified wind spinner. You know, you need to do the packaging. You need to, you know, have a prototype, you know, and start approaching for distribution. I always say you can have the greatest idea in the world, but until you have distribution, you know, you have to get your product out into the world. Let the creation evolve. Nothing is perfect the first time, and that's kind of what I'm saying. We had some shooting targets that we made, and I think we made roughly 60,000 of a certain unit. And it's like in manufacturing, there's ISO, or you're always constantly looking for improvements. And so it's like we found some ways to get rid of some nuts and bolts and added some S hooks and so I mean there's always things that you can improve, whether it's something that's been on the market for a long time or just in your life. It's like, well, boy, I could find a better way to go to work. I mean, there's, you know, what's causing that pain point, whether it's manufacturing something or in your daily life, and then look for ways to create to improve it. Like I said, to have a support system, not only family members, but you know, an attorney, an accountant, coworkers, peers. I mean, we all, you hear a lot of excuses. People say, well, I don't really know anybody that's ever invented anything, or I don't know anybody. There's lots of people out there, especially with now with the internet and online. There's endless amounts of YouTube videos that are out there for inspiration. And I think just taking a little bit of daily steps to head in that direction. Young Thomas Edison, I mean, we're all familiar with the Thomas Edison story. He had the support of his mother. I mean, if you know, a lot of young kids had family members that believed in them, and that changed the world. Um, a system to disperse the invention or use it, you know, I believe in just, again, could be an inventor group or a club, but try to find those, especially like there in Montana. I'm sure there's Deb and Rich can connect you with support groups and people that are really there to support you. Um, Here's a picture of my son, just, you know, now it's hard to imagine, but, you know, kids grow up fast, and this was his first little thing, and that was actually a scrap piece of metal, and he turned that into a shooting target. So kids at that age, it's all about Nerf guns, BB guns. You know, we were in 4-H shooting sports, and this made the front page of our local paper, which made the Minneapolis paper, and then it actually the NRA picked it up, and he actually got asked to speak at Pheasants Forever's national conference at 13. So again, you know, I think as a parent, it's cool to work with your kids and try to inspire them. And so this is just an awesome story, and he's had, I don't want to say hundreds of things, but lots and lots of things that he's developed and created over the last 15 plus years. Um, Sometimes dreams can inspire us. I'm a huge fan of dream journaling and just kind of really paying attention. And so there's a story about the guy that invented the sewing needle. And so Elias Howe basically fell asleep, and he had a dream about these cannibals, and what he woke up remembering was this spear, and it had a hole in it, and that was his inspiration for the sewing needle. I mean, so that's just fascinating to me that somebody took that and turned it into something in their real life. So I think I truly believe our minds are always kind of working, and so really, even if it's a dream, you know, pay attention to what they are. Um, Kind of some final words, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. But I think what you give attention to grows. Um, what do you want to grow in your life? I mean, I think that's a simple question we can all ask ourselves, whether it's more freedom or more personal time, more revenue? You can ask that question with a slant towards your business, or you can ask it towards a slant just, personally. There's so much chaos, always kind of going around us, whether, like right now we've cut a lot of staff and so, I'm wearing lots of hats always. And so but I still try to honor that inventor in me. And I personally believe that everybody is an inventor. We all have the same creativity, and so it's finding that why or finding what that is. I call it step outside of the tornado and invent you. But when I say the tornado, it's just life. It's like we all have a busy day. We might have a tough day, but then if you have that creative side, it's like, okay, what is that? Pay attention to your thoughts. I mean, sometimes it's like I'll have the craziest thought about something. Even at night, back to the dreams, a friend of ours, Deb and mine, suggested to me, it's like, well, if you're having trouble sleeping, I always kind of honor, having a notepad or something by my bed. And that evolved into the phone. So it's like, a lot of times you'll wake up, your mind's racing with a lot of thoughts. I used to write those down. A lot of times you look at it in the morning, it's like, I don't know what that even says. But now it's evolved to basically recordings on my phone. And similarly, I'll wake up and it's like, man, I left 25 messages. And I'll remember some of them, and you kind of go through that. And I think what I like about the phone side of things is it kind of captures your emotion or your actual thought process a little bit more than writing. And I'll hit delete, and then it's like, boy, that's a pretty good idea, and so I'll forward that. So I think the more you get down that creative path, the more you think like an inventor, your mindset and stuff, you'll create some different habits that'll kind of turn that gene on per se of having thoughts that might wake you up in the middle of the night. Maybe it's going to be a sewing needle. Maybe it's going to be a shooting target. Maybe it could be anything. But I think that's what's fascinating about just taking that little bit of a twist and say, okay, how do I think like an inventor? Um, so I don't know. That's kind of a quick view. So Deb, I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, let's take some questions. Feel free to, you can either put your little hand thing up, you could write it in the comments, you can show us yourself, you can unmute. Does anybody have any questions while we've got Arnold here?
I've got a question. Am I
Yeah.
unmuted?
Yep.
You're unmuted, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, at what point during this whole, you've got an idea and you're really working on the idea and refining it, at what point do you start the patent process? When does that happen? What does that look like? And I know it's kind of a broad question, but we get that question quite a bit, and I'm not really great with patent stuff, and I don't know the best way to direct people on that.
Yeah, and I think it kind of depends on the category. Um, my first thought in it's is have a good patent attorney that can do some initial researching. Even a person on their own, you can go right to the U.S. Patent and Trade Office website, and you can do some searching. And so I think doing a little bit of legwork on your own of what else is out there. Are you patenting a chair or is it something that's truly patentable? Our company, is a little over 25 years old, Next Innovations, and we always kind of believed in more the trademark side than so much the patent side. The wind spinners, like I said, we got into a huge lawsuit right away in the beginning, that somebody had copied us, and now with offshore and everything else, it's a tough question to answer, but I would say do the research online, see what kind of other things are close to it. We have looked at patenting some things. Our patent attorney will say, yes, it's patentable, but then they can do a quick search to see who else that you're close to. A lot of people, as a strategy, will sue anybody that files anything that's even close to their patent. And so some industries are more litigious than others. But to answer your question, I think early on, do some online searches about what else is close to that, and then talk to a good patent attorney. Sometimes patenting isn't even the best option. It's race to market. Get the patent pending, sticker and keep moving. So hopefully that answers your question. It
Yeah.
seems like it's a lot about distribution.
And then follow up on the distribution side of stuff. How do you even go about that? What are your sources for finding distributors?
Well, I mean, it continues to evolve and change. So like the big box, depending on the type of product that you have, I'll pick on Walmart or Target or any of them. A number of years ago, you used to be able to, get an end cap space, or now everything's gone to e-commerce. So Target, for example, might give you an opportunity to put your thing on their e-commerce, and then if it reaches so many sales, let's say 1,000 in a certain period of time, then they'll give you a store opportunity. So it's kind of a catch-22. You have to present certain sales. So I think it's finding distributors, finding depending on what market it's in and what type of product it is, try to find somebody that's a leader in that industry, or if it's a big box, you have to go through the e-commerce route.
Okay.
So,
Was
thank you.
did that answer your question, Rich?
Yeah, it did. And I have a follow up, but I'll let anybody else talk too. I don't want to monopolize.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions before we go back to Rich? We want to make sure you take advantage of having Arnold here. We're very grateful that he took time away. You can tell he's got a lot of projects going on right now. We're grateful for his time today. Anybody else have questions that they want to get asked or put in the comments? Okay, Rich, I think you should do your follow-up then.
All right. So the e-commerce thing from the big box store, does that typically look like you become the fulfiller of their e-commerce stuff, or do they actually take possession of your goods and then do their own distribution, or are you just basically a reseller through their stores?
So pretty much all of them. So Next Innovations, for example, back on the wind spinners, originally we had contracts with Amazon. I'll pick on Amazon, and that was called Vendor Central. Vendor Central still exists, but everybody kind of in the last 10 less years has adapted to a marketplace. And what that means is Amazon calls it Seller Central. And so you're actually putting your items up on Seller Central, and then it could be fulfilled by Amazon, or it could be fulfilled direct from the merchant, which is us shipping it out or you shipping it out. Amazon, for example, went away from purchasing inventory a long time ago. So in that marketplace example, they're more of a renter of space, and they're providing a service of shipping your products. Unless you really have a home run, like for example, in the QVC days, they even wanted a guaranteed sale. QVC might purchase the stuff, but to answer your question, the e-commerce marketplace, it's usually your inventory and you're shipping it out until it really shows a certain level of interest, and then they may contractually purchase some. But you really got to be aware of guaranteed sales. You'll hear stories of people, imported a ton of a certain idea and they didn't sell enough, or it didn't sell out, and then you're required to buy it back. So there's a lot of complexity. The simplest though is whether it's writing a book or anything, it's like people, publishers are looking at, well, how many followers do you have? How many, like Shark Tank's a great example. They'll say, well, how many sales have you had? So it's like everybody wants to see what kind of responses you've had of that certain product, which makes it very difficult because it's like, well, I'm just going to market and I haven't sold any yet, so everybody kind of wants to see proof as far as distributors before they actually, will go out and buy a semi load of stuff. It's different than it was 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, thanks.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay, so
go ahead.
go ahead, Arnold. Sorry.
Everybody's carrying less, inventory. We see that, with just in time has been around a long time. But for example, just on e-commerce, everybody's going through e-commerce to try to get new products out.
Hmm. Yeah. Did you have a follow-up on that, Rich? Or I see where it's
So
time.
it sounds like in this type of, consumer market of goods, it sounds like the rule is now that you're going to be carrying your own stuff, and they might find you through Amazon or Target or something, but you're going to be your own vendor. No, rarely is someone going to come buy a truckload of your stuff initially.
Or you can go just to just give it another branch. I had a friend that invented like a door latch for kids getting into an RV. You know how the kids are always banging on the door and they're trying to get in, and his invention was lowering it's an apparatus that had a lower device, and so that he was able to sell with a royalty to a bigger trailer manufacturer.
Mm.
And then he just, instead of being his own manufacturer, he sold the idea. There again, you have to be extremely careful with, confidentiality agreements and have an attorney in place. But so sometimes a lot of my examples in answering your questions was more about retail items or something direct to the consumer. But it could be an item related to farm equipment, or this example on an RV door, where people aren't realistically going to go buy a whole new RV door. But if you can get to the manufacturer that's manufacturing RVs already and implement your idea, that was another successful story.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Tianta, do you have a question? I see you're unmuted. I just want to make sure we get that before I do the closeout.
Oh, no. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope I wasn't making noise. I thought I had muted it. I
Yeah,
clicked on
no,
it to do that, but nope, I'm
yeah,
good.
no worries. I just wanted to make sure
I
if you have a
joined.
question for Arnold.
Yeah, nope. I just joined late, so
Okay.
playing catch
Arnold, before we get to your closing slide, I jotted down a couple things I captured because we have people from all different industries here, and the concept of thinking like an inventor, no matter what product or service you offer. What I captured a few things. One is bring your passion. Bring your passion for your service, bring your passion for the product, whatever that looks like. Stay focused, stay on track, be careful of the distractions, unless, of course, the distraction is something that would add to where you're going. Let your ideas shine, keep shining, and really sort of like the gravitas of the idea. Like if you've got an idea that is brilliant, is double click on it and actually keep that thing shining. Use creativity when you're feeling stuck. So if you find yourself in a pickle, apply creativity, move past stuck. Never give up, believe in yourself, and be adaptable because it's changing all the time. So no matter what your business is, did I capture those things pretty well? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, no, as always, you did great. But yeah, don't get frustrated. I mean, because I think if you get really focused on the passion, that's going to drive you. Sometimes I'll use it as an escape. Just in the last few weeks, it's like I was getting bogged down and burdened with just things hitting from 50 different directions. And I reminded myself that the title of this, talk, think like an inventor. I mean, if I think like an inventor, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to focus on this, so it got me unstuck. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Arnold, I know you are open to, if people want to reach out to you with questions, they can call you, they can email, they can follow you on the Facebook. And I'm sure that there's people that have questions they probably just want to ask you independently, which is great. So we just want to encourage people to do that as well. Take a photo of the slide if you need to. Arnold, I just want to say thank you so much for giving of your time. I obviously have been to your 54-acre place many times. For those of you that don't know, I used to work in Minnesota, and Arnold and I actually used to co-train a lot of trainings together for business owners, and spent a lot of time creating, is probably a good way of saying it, and just really sharing some amazing ideas together. So I know how valuable your time is. So thank you so much for joining us. This has been just super inspiring. Like, I kind of want to go create something, to be completely honest with you. But thank you so much. Any final words you want to share with everybody?
You know, I think just honor your passion. If you're a parent, support your kids when it comes to creation. I mean, it's a simple thing to distract and just find a positive outlet.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for being here. Reminder, just reach out to your small business development centers. We're also here to support, and obviously you've got a great new support system in Arnold as well. So thanks so much for being here, everybody. Go on and create
Yep.
something. I'm just feeling inspired to go create.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right.
Have a great
All
day.
right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.